Bruce Willis played heroes who never gave up. He saved buildings, stopped bombs, and always walked away alive. But in 2025, his family revealed something that shocked everyone. The man who could barely stutter as a child and became Hollywood's toughest action star can no longer speak. He cannot walk without help. And the decision his family just made about what happens after he dies left people speechless. This is not about movies anymore. This is about a truth so painful, even his closest friends did not see it coming. Bruce Willis was born on March 19, 1955, in Idar Oberstein, West Germany, on an American military base. His father, David Willis, was stationed there as a U.S. soldier, and his mother, Marlene, came from Kassel in Germany. So from the first day, his life sat between two worlds. Then in 1957, when his father's military service ended, the family moved to Carneys Point, New Jersey, and Bruce became the oldest of 4 children in a small house that measured about 900 square feet. Money was tight, space was tighter, and he had to learn fast how to fit into a new place while the adults tried to make the bills work. And then something happened that changed the way he lived inside his own skin. At age 4, he developed a severe stutter after a tonsil surgery complication, and it followed him for years. School turned cruel. Classmates mocked him, copied the way he spoke, and kept it going for nearly a decade, until the shame started feeling normal. So he went quiet. He became shy. He tried to disappear. But he found a crack in the wall when he stepped into drama class at Penns Grove High School. It gave him somewhere to breathe. Then on April 15, 1971, during a school play, he discovered something that shocked even him. When he memorized lines, he could speak fluently. Not sometimes, not halfway. He could actually get the words out. That moment did not just help him act. It gave him a way to stand in front of people without feeling trapped, and he later credited drama as the key that helped him fight his speech problem, with method acting and speech therapy helping him keep that control. Still, life did not turn smooth overnight. After high school, Bruce worked at least 17 different jobs. He drove trucks that delivered cows. He worked as a security guard at the Salem nuclear plant. He served as a page at NBC, refilling snacks in dressing rooms for actors on Saturday Night Live. He bartended. He waited tables. He tried to juggle all of it while attending Montclair State College. But after one semester, he dropped out after a dyslexia diagnosis made regular academics feel impossible. Even so, those jobs gave him something else. He met every kind of person. He learned how people talk when they are tired, when they are scared, and when they are trying to impress someone. That becomes fuel later, even if you do not notice it at the time. By 1978, he had pushed his stutter down so far that it was almost gone. And one story says he did it by mimicking the slow, deliberate drawl of John Wayne, using method acting to retrain his speech. His drama coach, Walt Fleming, was so doubtful he bet $100 Bruce would fail. And Bruce proved him wrong by speaking fluently in class and on stage. That win mattered because it was not about a trophy. It was about control. It was about finally feeling that his voice belonged to him. So when October 1976 came around, he took his hunger and went straight to New York City with only $200. The city did not welcome him. He slept on bar floors. He survived on odd jobs. His first paid gig was a Nabisco commercial as the Honey Bunny, and it paid $75. That is not a lot of money, but it is proof that someone, somewhere, saw him and said yes. Then came the grind that breaks most people. Over the next few years, he auditioned for over 300 off-Broadway roles and heard no again and again until rejection started feeling routine. He studied at the Circle in the Square Theater School and eventually landed a spot with the Heaven and Earth Theater Group. By 1979, he was performing in professional theater productions, building his base one show at a time. Then television grabbed him at the exact moment he needed it. He landed the role of David Addison on Moonlighting after an intense audition process, with reports saying over 3,000 actors tried out, and Willis auditioned 11 times before he finally got it. The pilot episode that aired on March 3, 1985, pulled 16.2 million viewers and pushed him into a new life overnight. Fame came fast, but so did friction. From day one, tension reportedly flared between Willis and co-star Sybil Shepherd, and her frequent tardiness was said to cost the production $50,000 in overtime. Even with the stress, the show hit hard with audiences. By the second season finale in 1986, it averaged about 27 million viewers per episode. And even then, Willis was paid $75,000 per episode. Behind the scenes, the story gets messier, with claims that he and Shepherd secretly dated, even though she was married at the time, and that ABC censored 17 kisses between them, which only made fans want it more. In 1987, he received an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series, which locked in the idea that he was not a lucky accident. Around the same time, he skipped the Golden Globes after party to party with Robert De Niro, who allegedly called him "stutter boy turned stud," a line that stuck because it carried his old pain inside it. Then, the Moonlighting ride ended. The show was canceled in 1988 after 66 episodes, with stories blaming chaos, rumors, and a reported 40% drop in ratings tied to pregnancy talk and production trouble. Even when it ended, money still flowed. Moonlighting residuals kept paying him, and those checks reportedly helped fund a $7 million Idaho ranch purchase in 1989. That is the strange part about success. Sometimes the past keeps feeding you even while you are already running toward the next thing. His personal life also caught fire in the middle of that storm. On November 5, 1987, he met Demi Moore at the premiere of Stakeout on a blind date setup, and the relationship moved fast and became tabloid fuel. It was a new chapter, and it came with the kind of attention that turns every private moment into public property. Around this period, another choice showed how stubborn he could be. In 1986, he was reportedly offered an audition for James Bond and turned it down because he feared losing his everyman image. One story says he told producers, "I'm no tuxedo puppet," even though the Bond franchise was said to offer around $20 million per film. Whether the exact numbers were true or not, the decision fits the pattern. He did not want to be boxed in. He wanted his own path, even if it meant walking away from the safest money in the room. Then, Die Hard happened, and everything shifted from TV heat to action legend. The first Die Hard was shot between November 1987 and March 1988, mostly at Fox Plaza in Los Angeles, with a budget of $28 million that ran about $3 million over early estimates. The film grossed $140 million worldwide, and it turned him into a superstar with a new face in the culture. He was paid $5 million, called astronomical for the time, and reports say he also received 15% of the film's gross. The work was rough. Stories from the shoot claim he suffered multiple injuries, including 12 broken ribs from stunt scenes, and that he refused to do a helicopter crash sequence on July 22, 1988, because he feared heights. The explosions were described as real, with rocket launchers and SWAT trucks blown up, and the crew had to follow strict city rules that limited helicopter use to 2 hours for a rooftop explosion sequence. Whether you picture it as chaos or precision, it put him in the center of a new kind of movie hero, the kind who bleeds and keeps moving. Die Hard 2 followed in 1990, filmed at Dulles International Airport in Washington, D.C., after a 4-month delay caused by the 1989 Writers Guild strike. His salary jumped to $15 million, and the film's budget rose to $60 million, with claims that his fee alone took up a quarter of that total. During a rehearsal, he allegedly broke Alan Rickman's nose, and filming kept going anyway. The movie earned $240 million worldwide, and the strike pressure meant script changes were made quickly, sometimes overnight, just to keep production moving. By 1995, Die Hard with a Vengeance arrived with a $90 million budget and a global gross of $366 million, but the making of it was said to be filled with fights and delays. Reports talk about a salary dispute involving Samuel L. Jackson, and they say Willis walked off the set on June 14, 1995, after director John McTiernan cut a favorite scene, demanding script changes and higher pay. Another story claims a rejected script from December 1994 leaked to Variety and caused a public mess. There is even a claim that the film's profits were used to donate $1 million to New Jersey stuttering clinics, tied to Willis's personal connection to speech struggles. Through it all, the pattern stayed the same. Big hits, big tension, and a man who pushed hard when he felt cornered. Then came a moment that looked small on paper but turned huge in real life. In Pulp Fiction, he played Butch Coolidge, filming between March 28 and April 5, 1994, and he took a pay cut from a usual $10 million down to $800,000. The stranger detail is the claim that he quietly funded a $500,000 salary increase for Uma Thurman so she could stay on the project. Pulp Fiction premiered at Cannes on May 21, 1994, won the Palme d'Or, and grossed $213 million worldwide. And the story says it revived careers and pushed his salary later up to $20 to $25 million per film. Around that same time, he reportedly turned down Speed, even after a $7 million offer. One story says he visited the set on April 12, 1994, and told Keanu Reeves, "Cars don't talk, guns do," explaining why he chose the risk of Pulp Fiction instead. That choice supposedly angered 20th Century Fox and cooled his relationship with the studio for years, but the gamble added a different kind of respect to his name. Success did not stop the complications. The Fifth Element in 1997 reportedly began with a $90 million budget that grew to $115 million, with claims that Willis demanded 22 script rewrites and pushed for a bigger role for Milla Jovovich, while director Luc Besson resisted and then gave in. The movie grossed $263 million worldwide and became a cult classic, but the tension gave Willis the diva label in some accounts. Armageddon in 1998 carried a $140 million production budget and stories of safety problems early on. One claim says on the third day, Willis fired 4 crew members for safety violations, pushing strict rules because the stunts were dangerous. The film grossed $553 million worldwide, and his contract reportedly included a $14 million back-end cut. Then there is the wild detail that he bet Michael Bay $1 million on whether the meteor math in the script was accurate. Whether the bet was ever settled or not, the story captures the same idea. Willis wanted control, even over things that most actors would ignore. The Sixth Sense in 1999 became the next giant step. The twist ending was reportedly filmed on August 17, 1999, and one account says Willis coached Haley Joel Osment through 60 takes to land the right emotion. The film was made on a $40 million budget and grossed $672 million worldwide. And the story says Willis made around $100 million because of a back-end deal. At that point, he was not just a star. He was a force that could shape the room around him. But even with all the power, there were painful crashes that followed him too. And they did damage in a different way. Hudson Hawk, greenlit in 1991, reportedly had a budget that reached $65 to $70 million, with claims that Willis rewrote the script 17 times and insisted on keeping a strange scene where Danny Aiello eats pizza on screen. The film premiered on May 24, 1991 in 2,071 theaters and opened to $708 million, then ended with only $17.2 million in the US, with reports saying the studio lost over $60 million. It was attacked by critics and said to have won 3 Razzie Awards, including Worst Picture. The marketing push was huge, said to cost $40 million with 5 major city premieres. And none of it saved the film. Another claim says Willis insisted on keeping a vanilla ice cream song moment that became a symbol of how off the tone felt to audiences. And one account even says his career offers dropped by 65% after the bomb. Then there was the Broadway brawler disaster. On March 15, 1990, he reportedly walked off the set after only 17 days, forcing Disney to shut down production. The studio had spent about $14 million by then, and the total loss was said to be $17 million. Disney sued him, but instead of dragging it out, they struck a deal that forced Willis into 3 Disney films at reduced pay, $3 million per movie, instead of his usual $15 million. That penalty deal reportedly pushed him into Color of Night, Striking Distance, and North. And the numbers around those films are rough too. Color of Night cost $40 million and made $19.7 million in the US. Striking Distance had a $30 million budget and made $24 million domestically. North was panned and became another Razzie target. Willis later called this stretch artistic prison in a 1995 Variety interview, saying he felt trapped and unable to choose what he really wanted. And then, the rumors poured in. One claim says he even bet $500,000 on Hudson Hawk's opening weekend with producer Joel Silver, and lost it when the film flopped on May 27, 1991, feeding talk that he had a gambling problem, especially as people spotted him around casinos in 1992. There is no confirmed proof of a full addiction in that story, but the rumor stuck because the numbers were so big and the timing was so bad. In 2004, a new kind of Bruce Willis business started taking shape, and at first it did not look like a collapse. It looked like a plan. The story goes that he signed a deal to make 20 action films for around $1 million each, and the timing mattered because Hostage later did $34 million at the box office in 2005. So his name still carried weight when producers needed a face to sell a movie fast. Then the years kept moving, and by 2020, he had reportedly finished 25 of these quick action projects, adding up to about $25 million, even as most of them landed below 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is where the tone changed, because the model was not built on love from critics. It was built on speed. The shoots were often short, sometimes under a month, and the talk around these sets was always the same. Willis would arrive, work for only a few days, knock out his scenes, and disappear. Sometimes he would not show up for premieres at all. Still, the movies kept getting financed because his name did the job even when the final product did not. Buyers saw Bruce Willis on the poster, and that alone could push a deal across the line. So he became the face of straight-to-video action. Not because the films were strong, but because the machine around them was strong. And slowly, without one single moment that screamed, "It's over," his image shifted anyway. One report summed it up with a brutal stat, saying 23 of his last 29 films never hit theaters, which made the change feel permanent. Then there was Setup in 2011, and it turned into one of those stories people repeat because it feels too strange to be real. The film was shot in 18 days on a $20 million budget, and it still managed to gross $29 million, which should have been good news. But the bigger story was the mood around Willis. Accounts from that time claimed he slept through 3 premieres. The backlash hit fast, and 50 Cent publicly complained that Willis was phoning it in, saying he barely interacted with the cast and seemed uninterested. Critics also noticed what viewers always notice when an actor feels checked out. He was on screen for only about 20 minutes, and he often seemed separated from the main action, like his scenes belonged to another movie. It added to the feeling that the work had become a transaction, quick effort in exchange for a clean paycheck. As the years went on, the money talk around these films got darker, and not because of the plots. Marauders in 2016 carried a reported $15 million budget, but the headlines around it were not about the story on screen. The claim that kept spreading was that the production got hit by an FBI money laundering investigation after Willis cashed a $2 million check on the first day of filming. Then came more talk about a 2017 union probe asking questions about financing. No charges were reported against Willis in those accounts, but the damage did not need a courtroom to stick. The scandal alone made the movie feel dirty, and it pulled back the curtain on a world where big-name actors can get paid up front, while the rest of the budget becomes a puzzle of deals, transfers, and promises. What people remembered, though, was not only the score. It was a strange detail that turned into a running joke, a claim that his contract allowed him to keep his ponytail from the Die Hard era as part of the deal. Whether people laughed or rolled their eyes, the meaning was the same. The public saw it as a symbol of how these roles had become low effort, short shoots, isolated scenes, and another check. Then Trauma Center arrived in 2019, and the whispers became even sharper. The film was described as a $6 million production that got halted because Willis refused to film a hospital gown scene without a $250,000 bonus. The shoot was said to be only 10 days, and the movie later sold to VOD for $1.2 million, which showed why producers kept doing it. These movies did not need love. They needed a buyer. And as long as the buyer showed up, the system survived, even if audiences shrugged. While all of that was happening on screen, his personal life had its own timeline that people never stopped staring at, starting with the way he married Demi Moore. On November 21, 1987, they married at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas after just 4 months of dating. The story says they were joking about marriage on the flight, then suddenly it turned real, and they tied the knot in their suite instead of a chapel. The next month, little Richard officiated a second ceremony with family and friends. It sounded wild, but it also sounded like them at that time. Fast, bold, and almost daring the world to react. Then came the family years and the Idaho chapter that always felt like a different movie. During their marriage, they lived in a $7 million ranch in Haley, Idaho, raising their 3 daughters away from Hollywood noise. Rumor was born August 16, 1988. Scout followed on October 5, 1991. Tallulah arrived on February 3, 1994. And somehow the ranch became famous for one extra detail that people could not forget: a camel named Clyde. It was odd, but it also fit the vibe of a family trying to build a private world where the rules felt lighter. But even private worlds crack when pressure keeps piling up. They announced their divorce on June 23, 1998, and the final paperwork came in October 2000. Reports about the settlement turned it into a headline machine, with numbers that sounded unreal. The figure repeated again and again was $90 million in cash and real estate, plus $30,000 per month in child support for 13 years. People called it amicable, and both of them often spoke like they were trying to protect the family more than the story. Demi later wrote in her memoir, Inside Out, that they felt more connected after the divorce than before, which is a strange sentence until you remember how long 2 people can stay bonded through shared kids and shared history. Then he remarried and stepped into a calmer chapter on paper. Bruce Willis married Emma Hemming on June 9, 2009 in Turks and Caicos. They had two daughters, Mabel on December 1, 2012, and Evelyn on May 5, 2014. In 2014, they bought an $18 million estate in Brentwood, Los Angeles, a place that was framed as stability, privacy, and a clean reset. Still, even the old years kept echoing. Demi Moore also described a moment from 1995 that shocked people when it resurfaced in 2019. In her telling, Willis wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom, and when she chose the lead role in G.I. Jane, he got furious and smashed a $50,000 vase during the fight. Whether people saw it as rage, fear, or control, it added another rough edge to the public picture of a man who could be charming one minute and explosive the next. Then the story took a turn that was not about box office or contracts at all. In March 2022, his family announced he had been diagnosed with aphasia, a condition that affects speech and language. After that, more details began to make sense to people who had been watching his late career. There were reports from sets saying he struggled with lines and that dialogue was shortened. On March 30, 2022, his retirement from acting was confirmed, and fans tried to process how he had still completed projects while his abilities were slipping. In February 2023, the family said the diagnosis had progressed to frontotemporal dementia, often called FTD. They described it as a cruel disease, and the tone of every update became heavier. FTD is known for changing behavior, speech, and decision-making, and it often hits between ages 45 and 64. So when people heard the word, they understood the direction this was going. It was not a bad year, it was a slow narrowing. Later reports pushed the decline into painful detail. Some accounts claimed that by July 2023, his speech had dropped by about 80%. The phrase people repeated was zombie drug reactions, which sounds dramatic, but it points to a real truth families face. When the disease is aggressive, hope can look like risk, and sometimes the safest choice still feels like a loss. Then there were other claims that made the Hollywood side look cold. One story said major agencies dropped him after the FTD reveal and that studios feared liability. Another story even mentioned a supposed 2022 on-set incident where someone got injured. These are the kinds of claims that spread fast online, and they shape the narrative even when the facts are unclear. What is clear is that the industry moves on quickly, and when a person becomes fragile, the phone calls stop. The older Hollywood wars also got pulled back into the spotlight again. One long-running tale said Disney blacklisted him from 1995 to 2005 after the abandoned project Broadway Brawler, with a $20 million investment that went nowhere. The story claimed the conflict led to a three-picture deal that capped his pay at $10 million per film, tying him to Armageddon, The Sixth Sense, and The Kid. Then more claims appeared, like internal memos revealed in 2025, and a list of blocked projects. Those details are hard to confirm, but the bigger idea is familiar in Hollywood. Burn the wrong bridge, and the smoke follows you for years. Even his old moonlighting relationship drama got stirred up again. A story that circulated said Sybil Shepherd unfollowed him in 2024, then wrote about their feud in a 2025 memoir, including a serious allegation about a 1987 rap party. It was one more reminder that old resentment does not disappear just because time passes, and public illness does not erase old anger for everyone. At the same time, the family side kept showing up in a way that surprised people. Reports claimed Demi Moore visited him 17 times in 2025, even with talk of a 2000 NDA meant to protect privacy. A leaked account said she broke down during Thanksgiving when she saw him in that condition. She has said in public words that the disease is what it is, and that acceptance becomes the only way forward. That is not a movie line. That is what someone says when the fight is over, and the grief has moved in. Then came more online stories that tried to reframe his past, like a 2025 event. His brain would be donated to science for FTD research. It was described as a way to turn loss into help for others, because FTD is still misunderstood and understudied compared to other dementias. Another claim said his daughters launched a Willis Strong Fund in December 2025 and raised $2.1 million for dementia research and support services, with a separate report claiming Demi Moore pledged $500,000. If those numbers are accurate, then the ending of the story is not only decline. It is a family trying to build meaning while the person they love slips away.